Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're getting into something really vital for growing companies, especially in tech,
Yeah.
the software architect.
Yeah.
You hear the title, right?
Right.
But what do they actually do? It can be a bit fuzzy.
That's a great way to put it, fuzzy. Because as systems get bigger, more complex, and the teams grow,
Hmm.
well, you definitely need someone looking at the big picture.
Right,
But yeah, the day-to-day, the real value, not always clear to everyone.
exactly. So, to, shed some light,
Yeah.
we've been looking into the work of Mario Bittencourt. He's a software architect, shared some great insights, especially from his time at Tussin.
Ah, okay.
So our mission today is really to get past that job title. What are the tangible benefits? What does an architect bring?
It's funny, that word architect, it makes you think of buildings, doesn't it?
Totally. Blueprints, designs.
Yeah, but the analogy, it only goes so far. A building architect cares about, how it looks, the aesthetics maybe.
Hmm.
A software architect, it's much more about the fundamental organization, the principles behind how the system works and how it's going to change over time.
Okay. So less about the paint color, more about the foundations and the plumbing.
Kind of, yeah. And Betancourt actually brings up an IE standard 1471.
Oh, official definition time.
Yeah, a bit. It defines architecture as, let me see, the fundamental organization of a system embodied in its components, their relationships, and the principles governing its design and evolution.
Okay, fundamental organization principles. That sounds pretty core.
It is. It's the skeleton, the blueprint. And someone else who talks about this really well is Martin Fowler.
Ah, Fowler. Yeah, big name. What's his take?
He calls it the shared knowledge of the system.
Shared knowledge.
And maybe more importantly, the hard-to-change decisions.
Ooh, hard to change. I like that. So not like which variable name to use today,
No, definitely not.
but more like what programming language are we committing to? Or how do these big pieces of the software talk to each other? Stuff that's, well, hard to undo later.
Exactly that, those big foundational choices. And Fowler points out these mostly affect the internal quality.
Internal, so stuff the user doesn't directly see, like how easy it is to maintain or scale up, or how reliable it is.
Precisely. Maintainability, scalability, reliability, all that good stuff. It's
Mhm.
crucial for the long haul.
Which reminds me of something Bittencourt mentions, this design stamina hypothesis. Is that related?
Absolutely. It's a great concept. So picture two projects, right?
Okay.
Project A jumps right in, maybe cuts some corners on the design to get features out fast. Project B spends a bit more time up front thinking about that solid architecture.
Right, the classic tortoise and hare.
Sort of. Project A might look faster at first, but over time, adding new things becomes a nightmare. It's like wading through mud.
Spaghetti code.
Exactly. Whereas Project B, the one with good design stamina, it might start a little slower, but it can maintain or even improve its development speed over the long term. Adding features stays manageable, cost-effective.
Ah, okay. So investing in that architecture early pays off down the line. You avoid hitting that wall where everything grinds to a halt.
That's the idea. And that's why, as companies grow, as the software gets more complex, you need someone whose job it is to focus on that, to make those hard-to-change decisions well.
Enter the software architect.
Precisely.
Okay, so we've got a better handle on what software architecture is about. Let's dig into what the architect actually does. Bittencourt lays out three core things, right? Three tenets?
Yeah, he does. He calls them tenets, and they are: bring business and engineering together, stay technically relevant, and help your teams to grow and perform.
And he shows them as connected, like they all feed into each other.
Totally interconnected. You can't really do one well without the others. Like, how can you connect business and tech if you don't understand the tech? Or how can you help your teams if you don't get what the business is actually trying to achieve?
Makes sense. Let's break down that first one then. Bring business and engineering together. Why is that so important, especially as companies grow?
Well, like we said, complexity shoots up. The problems the business faces get trickier, and you need someone who can speak both languages,
Yeah.
understand the business goals and what's technically possible, or even suggest alternatives the business hadn't considered.
So it's not just taking orders for features.
Not at all. It's about understanding the why. Bittencourt talks about really digging in with the business folks. What are their motivations? What are the real priorities? What trade-offs are okay? Like, is hitting a deadline more important than having every single bell and whistle?
Okay, so deep conversations there. And then how do they communicate that understanding back to the engineering teams and maybe even back to the business in a clearer way?
Good question. He mentions a few tools, artifacts he calls them. One is a context map.
Context map.
Well,
Sounds high level.
it is. Think of it like a map showing the main territories of the system and how they relate to each other and maybe other parts of the business. It's meant to be easy for everyone, business or tech, to grasp that big picture.
Establishes the boundaries.
Exactly. Then there's the C4 model that gets a bit more detailed.
How? Like,
Context, containers, components, code,
uh,
4 levels of zoom. Bittencourt says architects usually focus down to the component level mostly.
okay, peeling back the layers.
Right. And another one he really likes, maybe even starts with sometimes, is BPMN,
VPMO.
Business Process Model and Notation. It's basically a way to whiteboard how the solution is actually going to work, step by step, like mapping out the workflow.
Ah, so you agree on the what happens before you get too deep into the how it's built.
Exactly. He finds it super useful for making sure everyone, business, engineering, is on the same page about the actual problem and the proposed flow before diving into the C4 diagrams and the tech details.
That makes a lot of sense. Get the process right first.
And it's not a one-and-done thing. That BPMN diagram becomes a living document, something everyone contributes to, keeps alignment.
Cool. Okay, tenet number 2, stay technically relevant. That sounds important. It pushes back against that idea of the architect just drawing boxes in an ivory tower, right?
Oh, absolutely. That's a common misconception, that architects just do high-level stuff. Bittencourt is really clear you have to stay grounded. And that includes, well, coding.
Really? Architects still code.
Yeah. Maybe not, 40 hours a week like a developer on the team,
Yeah.
but enough to understand the code bases, the challenges the teams are facing, the implications of architectural choices.
Ah, so it builds credibility too.
Hugely important. Architects often don't have direct authority, like being the team manager, so
Yeah.
trust is key. Being able to jump in, understand the code, review pull requests, offer useful feedback. That builds massive trust and rapport.
Yeah, I can see that. You're not just dictating from on high. You're in the trenches with them, at least sometimes.
Exactly. And that involvement sparks ideas. You see patterns. You see where things could be improved. Maybe you bring in ideas from one team that could help another. It helps drive technical improvement across the board.
Leading by doing, almost.
You could say that, which flows right into the third tenet. Help your teams to grow and perform.
Because the best architecture in the world doesn't mean much if the teams can't actually build it well.
Precisely. So the architect has a role here too. Bittencourt sees it in 2 main ways.
Okay.
First, sharing experience on, thinking architecturally.
How to think like an architect.
Yeah, sort of. Strategies for breaking down big, scary projects. How to evaluate a new database or library. How to help team members feel comfortable taking on bigger challenges. It's partly mentorship.
Cultivating that mindset in others.
Right. And the second way is more direct. Sharing specific knowledge.
Like design patterns or tools.
Exactly. Patterns, tools, specific technical approaches that can improve performance or make the current software better. But again, it's not a lecture.
It's collaborative.
Very much so. The architect learns from the team's day-to-day reality just as much as the team learns from the architect's broader view. It's a two-way street.
That sounds like a really healthy dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
So putting this all into practice, you mentioned Bittencourt worked at Sensans, which saw a lot of growth.
Yeah, hypergrowth, he called it, which, as you can imagine, brings a ton of technical challenges.
I bet. Like, what kind of stuff was he dealing with?
He lists a few things just as examples, the kind of problems architects grapple with. Things like applying domain-driven design principles.
Okay, DDD.
Figuring out where and how to strategically use event sourcing.
Ah, complex event patterns.
Balancing different ways to host all their microservices, because they likely have a lot.
Yeah, cloud versus on-prem, containers, serverless.
Lots of choices.
And making smart use of different types of databases, what they call polyglot persistence, using relational, NoSQL, maybe graph databases, each for what it's best at.
Wow, okay. So definitely not just simple stuff. Real complex trade-offs. Absolutely. It shows the breadth, right? From high-level business alignment down to very specific technology choices.
Definitely. Okay, so as we start to wrap up this deep dive, what are the main takeaways? If someone asks you now, what does software architect really do?
Well, fundamentally, they define that core organization of the system. They're the ones focused on those big, hard-to-change decisions we talked about.
Right, the ones with long-term impact.
Exactly. And crucially, they're that bridge, connecting the business needs and goals with the technical reality of building the software.
And based on Mario Bittencourt's insights, it takes more than just tech skills. It's communication,
Hmm.
staying hands-on technically,
Including coding.
and really investing in helping the development team succeed, empowering them.
That sums it up pretty well. It's a multifaceted role.
It really is. So if this has piqued your interest and you want to learn more, definitely check out the links in the description.
Yeah, lots more detail there. And you can also subscribe for free to the Architecture Corner newsletter. It's a great resource for staying updated on this kind of thinking.
Absolutely. And maybe a final thought to leave you with.
Yeah.
Think about any complex project or even organization, and maybe not even in software.
Mm-hmm.
How could having someone dedicated to that architectural vision, that fundamental structure, those long-term principles, that bridge between strategy and execution, how could that change things? It's a powerful idea, really.
It really is. Food for thought.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.